Well, after an exciting start to the league championship series in both the American National League, Mike and I sit down to talk about the first two games in Toronto, the first game in Milwaukee. What a wild bunch of playoffs we have going on. We're here to break it down for you on Back to the Bullpen right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That is right, and we're bringing it back to the bullpen. And if you're a Blue Jays fan, you don't want to bring it to the bullpen because those guys are holding it down. But I'm here with Mike. Mike is actually on assignment this week.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can hear you all week and all through the LCS and World Series.
Yeah, back on MLB Network Radio. They have brought back our round trip show, which is post-game analysis. I was on last night. I was on Sunday night, and then I'm on again Thursday night and Friday night. So you can find me on SiriusXM, MLB Network Radio, and also on Twitter, also known as X, at Mike Stanton 29.
That's right, definitely. Mike, if you would have told me that the first two games in Toronto would have gone the way they did,
yeah,
I wouldn't have believed you for both games. I would have said maybe one game. But coming into this, you had a Mariners team who, for most of the year, their offense has been up and down. But lately, they had caught fire. They had started hitting. Cal Riley has hit all season. Julio Rodriguez has been resurgent in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Jorge Polanco wasn't a guy that you had in the cards of really contributing a whole lot in the playoffs, maybe contributed a little bit. Suarez came back. He's a power hitter. And it just seems like every phase of the game right now, the Seattle Mariners are just getting the job done against a high-powered offense and against a team that really has, you had Gausman going in game one, so you thought this is going to be probably a win in game one. Maybe the Mariners get game two and a split going to Seattle, but it's 0-2 going to Seattle.
Yeah, and there was a lot of discussion between, fatigue and rest.
Right.
Okay. And you had really polar opposites of what this, what went on with these teams. Seattle Mariners 15 inning game to get to the postseason, fly all the way across country. Their flight was delayed. There was all kinds of fatigue. But the one thing they did have going for them, they were riding a big time emotional high. And what comes with that is a lot of adrenaline. On the other side, the Blue Jays played very, very well to get into the LCS. Handled their business almost flawlessly, then had several days off. And you got to remember, Major League Baseball players are not used to having time off. Other than the All-Star break, it's a day here, it's a day there. It's not, 4 or 5 days in a row. And when you're playing on an emotional high, when you finish off a series, you want to go straight into it. Now, the benefit that the Blue Jays did have, that everybody was rested. Everyone, all their pitchers were, they got to set up their pitching the way they wanted to. Everything was really leaning the Blue Jays' way, except for the fact that the Seattle Mariners were riding this high. We're riding, it was like 30 hours and they were playing again after playing 15 innings. Pitching staff was not where you wanted it to be, but it still just simply didn't matter. And the Blue Jays don't look like the same team. Listen, Kevin Gausman threw the ball exceptionally well. He did. It was, a split finger. I can't even call it a hanging split finger fastball. He just kind of pulled it onto the plate to Cal Riley, and he hits the ball out of the ballpark. He pitched well enough to win. And the thing was, the offense, especially in the second half, the way the Blue Jays have been playing, the offense was not a problem. Offense is different right now.
Yeah.
Is that credited to Seattle? Of course it is, but it's also, to me, this is something I talk about every single solitary postseason. Is the off times. That downtime is not a good thing for a Major League Baseball player, even if you're fatigued. Timing can be off just a little bit. Seeing live pitching isn't the same, even if you do it in practice. So am I surprised? I'm surprised a little bit that the Blue Jays haven't played, excuse me, a little bit better.
Right.
But am I surprised the Seattle Mariners are doing what they're doing? Absolutely not. And the big reason why is this is what we've expected from the Seattle. I mean, a couple years ago, I actually picked the Seattle Mariners to win the World Series. That's how good this team is. And they've spent, year in and year out, we watch them all the time underachieving. Well, guess what? They're not underachieving anymore.
Well, exactly. You have your 2, 3, and 4 hitter in game one. They combine for 5 hits and basically 10 at bats. And that's huge with, Cal Riley being right there, Jorge Polanco being right there, and it's interesting because Jorge Polanco was going to sign in Houston, but he waited for a counter offer from Seattle. They met his demands, and now he's a Seattle Mariner. So there's a lot of Astros fans that are going, I wonder if we had him.
I don't know what the number was, but I know we were talking last night about how he's been a bargain.
Big time.
And to tell you the truth, he probably would have signed here in Houston if they would have upped it just a little bit. But I think what happened, Seattle basically matched whatever the Houston offer was, and we know that the Astros had an offensive year also, but there's no way to predict that he was going to do this because last year he wasn't any good. That's why he didn't have more teams knocking on the door.
That is true, but this Toronto offense managed only 1 hit. Now you got to give credit to Seattle pitching. Bryce Miller, a kid out of Houston, Spire came in, Brash came in, Munoz came in, and they dealt. They only had 4 strikeouts, but they produced outs.
Well, that's one of the things that for the Blue Jays, this is something they did not strike out very much this year at all. And so you're going in, you want to make sure that you're just making quality pitches and you're not trying to get the swing and miss, that you're actually pitching to contact. And it's a different mentality when you're trying to strike guys out, when you're trying to miss bats, and when you know that the other team just simply is not going to do it.
Right now, so get this: in the first 2 games, Seattle had 7 hits and 3 runs in game 1. 10 hits and 10 runs in game 2. That is right out of Coach Chansey's playbook. My father, when he coached us in baseball, he said every hit, you should have a run for every hit that you have. And we're like, what? And so, he emphasized that. But Toronto has managed 4 runs and only 8 hits in 2 games.
Yeah.
And their bullpen, and this is what I want to get into, Blue Jays manager Schneider being in a bind because they used in game 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. They used 5 relief pitchers in game 1. They used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 relief pitchers in game 2. So going into game 3 in Seattle, Mike, does this change the manager's plan because your offense is sputtering? Now there is a day in between game 2 and game 3, so you have that rest day, so that helps. But still, you've gone to your bullpen more than you wanted to right now, so you know what Seattle's seeing. Does this make his job more difficult going into Seattle being not just down 0-2, but not having the arms available or having to use too many arms in the first 2 games?
I don't think it makes it more difficult because it's already pretty much the hardest thing you're going to do. I mean, if you look back in history, almost every time the team that goes down 0-2, losing the first 2 games at home, they don't win the series. I mean, this is going to be quite a situation if the Toronto Blue Jays do come back to win this series, because now the Mariners are just so much in the driver's seat, and they have a chance of ending this thing at home. And even going just 2 out of 3 at home, they can win this series and go to the World Series for the first time in Seattle Mariners history. So I don't know if it makes it more difficult, but listen, it was back-to-back days. Okay, you have an off day. I don't think their bullpen's going to is any worse for the wear. I think this is just a situation that the Blue Jays, kind of wanted to ease into the series just because they had a few days off. And the Mariners just came in on an all-time high, and now they are, just 2 wins away from going to the ultimate goal, which is going to the World Series and possibly winning it.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Reyes brings up an interesting point. He says he thinks that he, being John Schneider, should have left the starters ride a little bit more. Gosman should have finished that inning before he was pulled. What part of live by your ace, die by your ace do these coaches not get? So, okay. I mean, and I think this too could be somewhat of a you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. So like if you do it and it doesn't work, then you're a horrible coach. But if you do it and it works, you're a great coach, right?
Well, here's the different situation. And when we get to this next series, we'll be able to talk about this, because the Dodgers are having to do things completely against their whole DNA. But we'll get to that in just a minute. In Major League Baseball now, starting pitchers are not relied on. They're not. I mean, you look and the whole idea in the regular season, but it's even more emphasis on the postseason, is 2 times through the lineup. I'm going to use my pitchers for 2 times through the lineup. Then I'm going to start running my relievers out of there. And, the Tampa Bay Rays, back when they were the Devil Rays, they used to have an old saying that they're going to take a pitcher out an inning early. They're going to take a pitcher out an inning or an out early instead of an out late. And that's really what's happening here, is that, that 3rd time through the lineup, you've just seen the pitcher too many times. And that's really what you're seeing. Now, the flip side of that is when you start running 4 or 5 relievers out there every single night, that means that's 4 or 5 guys that have to be on top of their game. And if your offense isn't giving you any kind of substantial crooked number lead to work with, then when somebody's not on the game, you lose. You lose that game. If somebody a reliever has a bad day and gives up a run or gives up 2 runs, you're going to lose. So it's a double-edged sword, but we see this through Major League Baseball. I mean, you got Cy Young's pitching 180 innings now. So it's a little different situation than when you go back even just 10 years ago, much less a couple decades, when all the heavy lifting was being done by the rotation.
Yeah, definitely. And it is a different game. I mean, obviously also can you imagine if they still allowed the situational lefty or righty,
Oh, yeah.
Now the pitcher has to pitch to 3 hitters. You have to go in there with that mentality. And just when you have 5 relievers, one mistake by one reliever is magnified versus a guy going in there, maybe making a mistake pitch and then locking down the next 3 innings. Right.
Yeah.
I remember talking to a couple farmhands from the Houston Astros, I think about 2 years ago. And we were talking to them about their experiences and, to share with us some of the struggles. And one of the pitchers we had on, Jonathan Sprinkle, who I don't think is even playing baseball anymore, talked about he came in 1 inning and he gave up like 4 runs. And the pitching coach came out and said, look, you need to wipe it. You need to go forward, stick with your game plan. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And he said he went on to throw 5 hitless innings after that. So he basically threw a no-hitter after that.
Right.
And so, but that's where if you're bringing these guys in every inning, they've got this much room to mess up. And to compound the issue, you have an offense that's not producing. So it puts
to tell you the truth, that's the bigger issue here.
Okay.
And the reason is because game 1, it was 3-1. I mean, we talked about this with the Houston Astros. all year long about scoring less than 4 runs. They
Yeah.
had 22 wins, which is actually a huge number. But they were, 83 games they scored less than 4 runs. And
Yeah.
you're just simply not going to win a large majority of those games. 4 runs is the magic number. And so I can't really. Now, game 2, a little different situation. They had the kid, what was he, Savage, on the mound.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of pressure on him, and he just simply, he righted the ship a little bit, but he really relies on his split finger fastball, and it just wasn't there. He went fastball slider, but got through a few innings, but that was about it. But that's what, happened in the first inning when J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez, hit the 3-run home run in the first. It was a hanging split finger fastball.
Yeah.
So, the emphasis on every pitch, and that's what's so great about the postseason. But I can't really put it all on the pitching for the Blue Jays. It's really a team sport. Everybody's got to do their job, but they just looked like a shell of what they did against the Yankees.
Yeah, and I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s average was so high that he's down to 375, and he still has an OPS over.
Well, he hit over 500 against the Yankees.
Yeah,
he killed the ball against the Yankees.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So in this series, with him even doing bad, you look at it, you're like, whoa, he's killing it. But right now, he's kind of cooled off, and so I know if the Blue Jays go out there and get Game 3. Maybe it changes things a little bit, but it's still an uphill battle from there. But before we move on, we definitely want to tell people, hit the QR code. Make sure you get your Back to the Bullpen shirt. I actually have new Back to the Bullpen shirts on order right now. I'm wearing the OG prototype. He's wearing the one that actually this symbol on the front of my shirt is on the back.
Between the shoulder blades.
Yeah, so between the shoulder blades, so when you flex, they see that Back to the Bullpen symbol. That's why we put it there, right? But seriously, check that out. Because Rams Shirts does a lot of great stuff, and they actually are there for your small business needs as well. Mike, the Dodgers and Brewers, what a intense, crazy, low scoring game. And that double play that happened. Have you ever seen anything like that? That was insane.
All the years I've played, all the games that I've watched, both as a player, as a broadcaster, as a father, never seen a double play that goes 8, 6, 2 unassisted. And to tell you the truth, when something like that happens, it's kind of remarkable that the Dodgers were able to go ahead and win the game. Now it was 2-1. I mean, it was
right.
Of course, who did it? No, it wasn't Shohei. It was Freddie Freeman that hit the home run, the go-ahead home run and game-winning run. But I mean, you have bases loaded, 1 out. You've got the pitcher on the ropes. You've got one of your better clutch hitters at the plate in Max Muncy, left on right, and Max Muncy hits a home run. That ball was out of the ballpark. That was going to be a grand slam. But what a great play by the center fielder. His name,
Sal Frelick.
Frelick, yes, Frelick. Yeah. Gets there, gets above the wall, pulls the ball back in, and here's where things go crazy. Okay, he doesn't catch it, though. It hits off his glove. It hits in the air, hits the front side of the wall, and then as he comes back down, he catches the ball. Well, the base runners really didn't have, and it was Teoscar Hernandez at third base and Will Smith at second base. They had no idea what really happened and where the mistake was. And, we had a discussion last night on the radio about this, that Teoscar didn't know the rules. Maybe not. But when you see a hit, when you see an outfielder bobble the ball, you have a tendency to try and re-tag. And that's what he did. He tagged up left, went back and tagged up. Well, here's what nobody's really talking about. Frelick had made a great throw to Ortiz at center, from center field all the way to the infield, right at the cut of the grass. Ortiz throws a strike to home plate, and they get the force out. And then at the plate, and then he turns around because Will Smith still doesn't know what's going on either.
Right.
The catcher runs to third base and gets the unassisted double play that way. Absolutely incredible that you go from bases loaded, grand slam, you're going to be up by 4 to a game, an ending inning double play, and no one scores. Absolutely. It's why you have to watch. I mean, you literally have there's things that you can see, maybe not on a daily basis, but there's things you can see that you really have never seen before. And that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely. And because when I went back and I watched it over and over, I was like, why did he touch third? Because he tagged it, like he re-tagged, but he did that because you had the force out still at third. And
so here's the rule. Here's the rule that when there is a fly ball and a runner is tagged, all the ball has to do is touch the glove initially. That's it. He doesn't have to catch it. Even if he bobbles it, it is still considered a touch. And then you can,
can regather a ball. It could hit off of a million different things other than the ground. And as long as
it can hit off yourself, as long as it doesn't hit the ground or hit the wall.
Okay.
But no, where Teoscar had the issue was, and he left on time the first time, but he stopped and went back and tagged the base. That's what allowed the play at home plate to happen. Because if he leaves and doesn't go back, there's not a play at home. He's going to be safe. And from there, who knows what happens. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, then it would have been, you probably would have still got the out at third base because Will Smith still hasn't ran to third. So you still get the out.
Right.
So it ends up being a sac fly. But that's the rule, because I guess back in the day, there used to be pop flies to make the guy, I guess there's a couple examples. I heard some stories of outfielders that would juggle the ball and actually do it as they're coming back to home plate, back into the infield, because the way the rule states, he has to catch the ball. So if you're juggling it, it's not a catch, and the base runner would have to stay on the base that they're tagging up. So they changed that rule.
Oh, okay.
They changed that rule. So all it is the initial touch. Then you can run. Then you can advance to the next base.
Okay, so him tagging was what got him re-tagging was what got the out.
That's where the issue was.
Okay. See, I didn't even understand that. I thought I understood the play. That's why I'm glad I got Mike standing here with me, because I was going, what in the world?
Well, I was doing the same thing, because I saw it and I was like, okay, it hit the wall. That means it's a double. Well, it's only a double if the base runners in front of you get out of the way.
Right.
They didn't.
So. Exactly. Well, let's talk about this pitching duel. And from the LA Dodgers perspective, Blake Snell, when he went back out there in the 8th inning, and when he left that mound, going back in the 8th, he had that energy like, you're not going to pull me early. Like, this isn't going to be 2020 all over again. Like,
right.
We know why he got pulled in the 9th for Sasaki, because he's been red hot. But, man, Blake Snell, 8 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, only gave up 1 hit. This is
arguably one of the best pitched postseason games ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
there were only 3 balls hit hard, and only one of those was a hit.
Exactly.
There was 3 balls hit hard, and 2 of those were ground balls. They weren't even in the air. Listen, Blake Snell, who has won Cy Young twice, I don't believe he deserved it twice. I think he's only deserved it once. Is one of the more inconsistent pitchers we've seen, not because of when he's not pitching well. It's because his upside is what we just saw. I mean, he has always had tremendous, tremendous stuff, and his biggest issue is just putting the ball in the strike zone. And even when he pitched well, he would have an elevated pitch count, and they'd have to take him out of the game.
Right.
He has been, nothing short of spectacular. And here's what I was, the tease from earlier was talking about how the Dodgers are having to do, Dave Roberts having to do things different than he's ever done it before. You go back to the 2017 World Series against the Astros. I still think the Dodgers lost that series in Game 2, even though it went late. And that's when they took Hill out of the game in the 5th inning. And he was he was dealing. Astros had no chance
Oh,
against him. But the
he was
analytics said we are not, in the game plan before the game started, we are not letting Hill go into the third time through the lineup. And then after that, just all Hades broke loose. I mean, it was just, the Astros just went off, end up winning the World Series. And I've said again, doing this for as many years and pitching, being blessed enough to pitch in the postseason as much as I have, any pitchers, it doesn't matter. And the Dodgers had a good bullpen back then, but any pitchers have the ability to suffer from overexposure, especially in a 7-game series when you pitch a lot. So you have fatigue there. And then also you have the hitters, having multiple at-bats. And what it means is your margin for error is much less as a pitcher. You have to be able to hit your spots because the idea of the hitter seeing the ball better and capitalizing on mistakes increases with every pitch that they see from a reliever. So you see, 4 or 5 times in a series, guess what? He's going to be tired, and there's no secrets now. And the Dodgers have been notorious for this, really paying attention to the analytics, taking their pitchers out early. I mean, Max Scherzer, was it last year or the year before? Max Scherzer was all upset that, what? I'm dealing and winning the game, and you're taking me out after 5? Do you know who I am? A future Hall of Famer. But no, that's what the numbers state. So for them to let Blake Snell go 8 innings, and as in the previous, he's had 3 postseason starts that he has been spectacular, and he's gone deeper into these games than just about any other start in his career, period, including the regular season, because they are notorious for taking dudes out early.
So I wonder
the reason is their bullpen stinks.
Yeah, they don't have a great bullpen. It's not been super reliable. But is there a discussion possibly that happens between Dave Roberts and Blake Snell before a game like this because it's the championship series? Or is this something that because he's done this most of the year, that it's just kind of an understood thing at this point that Blake Snell has performed pretty well this year, so we're just going to let him go as long as we feel like
I don't think so. I think what it is, this isn't as much about Blake Snell, which, Blake Snell deserves. Tell you the truth, Blake probably should have stayed in and finished the game. I mean, the Brewers almost won this baseball game.
They did.
They had the bases loaded, and I think it was Terry had got almost got hit with the bases loaded.
Yes.
Yeah, and then swung at a ball,
way out of the zone,
out of the strike zone.
It was like a Jose Altuve strike.
Right. Well, except Jose a lot of times will square that one up.
Yeah.
He might be the only one that does that. But it was, to have a pitcher, so something that the Brewers can take away from this, having a pitcher shove against you like Blake Snell did, and then not just be in the ball game. To tell you the truth, they should that game should have gone into extra innings.
Yes, 100%.
So because Blake Trinan was probably going to walk him.
Oh yeah,
that would have made would have made the count 3-2. And then, who knows? Because Trinan has not had a good season. It was just a pitch 2 before that there was a ball well inside a breaking ball coming into him, and he got out of the way, and you could almost see him in his face. What am I getting out of the way? Just let it hit.
Which I think that's more of a flinch reaction.
Oh, it is. You don't think.
People are like, oh, he's an idiot.
Well, even if you did, you don't have time anyways.
No, you don't. Milliseconds.
But that's something that the Brewers can take away from the Dodgers. That first game was just simply because, we just had a pitcher completely and totally shove against us, and we still had a real shot of winning that baseball game.
So tonight, you got Yamamoto, who versus Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta's last outing, I can't remember. I don't know if it was great, but I know So we know Peralta can be a good pitcher.
Sure, good stuff.
But Yamamoto is one of the better pitchers in the league.
Here's the thing that, and again, I'm going to go back to what I said just a few minutes ago. Dave Roberts actually has to manage a little bit harder, just simply because, like we were talking about earlier, he's got to ride his starters, and that's something that goes completely against the DNA of being a Dodger over the last decade, because it's been so analytically driven that but they do not have the horses in the bullpen, and that's going to be
Right.
the Brewers. That's what's going to be there. I mean, it's why Blake Snell went 8 innings. They would have loved to get him out there, get out of 7, but the way he was pitching, and the fact that they just didn't have dudes in the pen. I mean, when Sasaki got in trouble there in the 9th inning, they went to Blake Snell. Or I'm sorry, they went to Blake Trinan, and Blake Trinan has not. He has been, to say he's been hot and cold, I think is being nice. He has not had a good season, but that's all they had to go to.
No, yeah, he's definitely not replicated. I mean,
they have a couple guys. Vesa has been pretty good.
Right.
I mean, there's been a couple guys now, but there's nobody that's hot right now that you can say just run out there and he's going to finish things off. That was the closer, which he had never closed before, by the way, Sasaki. So, the Dodgers may have the upper hand right now, taking game 1 on the road, but by no means is this series anywhere close to being done.
Yeah, and I can see Milwaukee coming back and maybe getting to that bullpen a little bit earlier than they did, last night.
That's going to be their goal.
That will be the key, because I think their offense is fully capable of producing runs. I think top to bottom pitching wise, the Brewers probably have a lot better bullpen, back end of bullpen. And so you give them the advantage, because Milwaukee has to get a split going back to LA. You don't want to be down 0-2, especially with the Dodgers.
You don't. Even with the Dodgers' questionable bullpen,
right.
You just simply don't want to be. You don't want to be 0-2 ever. But that would be Mount Everest in front of them to try and climb.
Yeah, I say I would like to see the Brewers take game 2. I would like to see the Blue Jays take game 3 to make it a little bit of a series.
Sure.
I mean,
I want we haven't done many postseason shows, but right. I want game 7s all the time.
You know what? When these went to game 5, I'm like, Mike is so happy.
Oh, I was.
Mike is so happy right now.
I want complete chaos. I want the games to go down to the last out of the bottom of the 9th.
That's funny.
Because listen, when it's all over, we don't have baseball till February.
Now, okay. And I want to ask you this before we wrap up. And I don't know if you do this, because I know, you're in your post-baseball career, whatever, you're training athletes and all that stuff. But do you ever, in playoff scenarios, when you're watching games, do you ever think, what would I have done there? Do you ever put yourself in those shoes, or is that not even something that you've really tried?
Not really. I mean, it's more, to tell you the truth, after all the broadcasting I've done, all the analyzing I've done, that's where I go to more than anything else.
Okay.
Is what should have been done, what could have been done. I don't usually go back to what would I have done in that situation.
Well, because I mean, the game was a lot different too.
Oh, sure.
The strategies were different. Relievers were used less, but more often.
Right.
And starters went longer. But yeah, no, this is a great show. Thanks for taking the time today. I know you are busy with your schedule. Make sure that y'all check out, if you have, I believe it's on Sirius XM. Is that correct?
Sirius XM, MLB Network Radio. That's channel 89.
There you go.
And they will be playing. There's pregame shows, 3-hour pregame shows before every series. And then, we will come on after the last game to do our round trip show, which is
definitely
all post game analysis. We'll have, interviews and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, good deal. So are y'all interviewing players on that post game show?
Some.
Okay, good deal.
It's in, it's a little bit tougher for the game that just ended, but you have a little bit more information on the game earlier in the day. But
okay.
Yeah, we cover all the bases.
Well, good deal. Definitely. Yeah. Y'all make sure y'all do that. Check him out. Make sure you make sure you scan the QR code. See if you can get your Back to the Bullpen shirt before I get mine. If you do, take a picture of it, send it to me.
You know what? If you get it in, they will put you above Brett. They will do it.
That's right. I'll make sure you do it. But if you do that and you get it before me, take a picture of it, send it to me on social media. I'll send you something in the mail. All right. So, for myself, for Mike, everybody here back to the Bullpen, we thank y'all for tuning in with us on your lunch break. And we look forward to some more exciting League Championship Series playoff games. Again, check out Mike post-game on Sirius XM Radio. Y'all have a good one. As always, go Stros.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool.